You're listening to the Proactive Slacker Podcast, episode 45. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/proactiveslacker. With over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Today's podcast is also brought to you by Patreon. To figure out how you can help infuse our podcast with your awesomeness, visit patreon.com/PSM. Hello and welcome back to the Proactive Slacker Podcast, the official podcast of ProactiveSlackerMedia.com. I'm Devin.
And I'm Nick.
And Nick, been a very, very productive week here at Proactive Slacker Media.
Yes. I think this might be the hardest week I've ever worked for the company.
For the company?
I think so.
I would say just the past couple weeks in general, we've been making leaps and bounds in
Absolutely.
All of our work here.
Yes. Wallets, though, quite empty.
Wallets are very empty. Very, very empty.
Yeah.
Shall we go into talking about our purchases and how they're going to improve people's entertainment?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, if you guys know, we've been talking a lot about Daryl Darnell. He runs a production company, almost exclusively podcast.
Yes.
He does a lot of podcasts, Golden Spiral Media. And we got the chance over the last week to sit down with Daryl and talk podcasting. And he helped us out just with podcast production and how to get the best look and sound.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and say, one, we didn't sit down with him. It was a Google Hangouts call. So,
well, I sat down at a table and then talked into a webcam as he was also sitting at a table talking into a webcam.
yes. Okay. So similar, but different. I would also like to point out that I had connection issues, very, very bad ones. I missed most of the conversation and just kept dropping in and out of the call. It was pretty bad.
Basically, well, we sat down with Daryl to talk about, he offered to give us help on podcasting and improve our sound and our visuals as well. And so the whole time I'm sitting there talking with him about improving all of this. Although, Nick, you're the one who understands the technical aspect more than I do.
Absolutely.
So there were questions he was asking. We're like, hey, Nick, this sounds like a question for you. And you would just not be there, and then you just vanish from the call. And I'm like, and then I'm left alone with Daryl. I'm like, how do I? Well,
Yeah.
Nick knows the answer to your question, Daryl, and I'm just going to wait for him to figure out his connection issue and hop back on.
Didn't happen though.
No, you said maybe 5 words the whole call.
Yeah,
the call lasted.
No. I want to make a very strong point and say I said many more than 5 words. In fact, I completely explained our audio setup to apparently an empty internet room.
Were you actually talking? And
Absolutely.
We just weren't hearing you?
Yes. Daryl was asking us specifics about our equipment setup. I very thoroughly began explaining them, but then halfway through, I heard you guys start talking, but it was very jittery and, quite clearly not smooth. And then I was gone from the call. So I did say more than you think I said.
Okay.
But apparently I was mostly just talking to my own four walls.
And what's funny, too, is you would have connection issues, you would vanish from the call, and then 2 Nicks would appear in the call?
Because I would reconnect, and then I could see myself, and then myself. I could also mute my other self. I discovered that, and I don't know if that muted me or not, because it didn't really matter.
I think it did.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Either way, I didn't hear you. And either way, I don't think our audience really cares about the nitty-gritty details of our webcam call with Daryl.
I can re-go over all of the stuff I pretended that I told you guys.
No, let's not.
Okay.
Let's not bore the audience with the small, tiny technical details.
All right.
Basically, what Daryl did was suggested gear that we should get.
Essentially.
And gear that was also very cheap for the value you get out of it.
Yes. Not rich people sitting in this room.
No. And one of those things, which we will be implementing in the next video podcast.
Yes. Not this one.
Not this one.
No.
Is studio lighting.
Yes. I went ahead and bought us studio lights. It's going to be amazing. Hopefully it's not going to be super hot. But hopefully you won't see this ugly glare here
Yes.
or over there.
If you're watching the video podcast, then you'll be able to see reflected in our whiteboard the two floor lamps.
Yes.
That we use to light this little setup we have here.
It's amazing. It's just
Is amazing really the proper word to use there?
amazing ingenuity, I would say.
Really? I don't think. Would you call that
don't?
ingenuity?
Scavenging supplies and creating a workable setup with what we had, I would say, is ingenuity. Yeah.
I would argue that it's not ingenuity because
Okay.
just we need to light a set. Let's get some lights.
Right.
That's pretty simplistic thinking
But
right
no,
there.
but we don't have lights and we don't have money. So we found the two lights that in conjunction with each other managed to create a facsimile of manageable studio lighting.
Okay. When you word it that way, I could see your point a bit more.
Okay.
We're also ordering, those are on the way. So for those of you who watch the live streams, which is no one, or for those of you who watch the video podcast, which is actually quite a few of you, most of you actually,
Yeah.
watch the video podcast.
It's pretty amazing.
Which thank you, by the
Yes.
way, because those take a lot longer to edit than the audio podcasts.
It's true.
And I put them up after the audio podcast, so you guys have already had a chance to listen to it. So the fact that you guys actually take the time to watch the video podcast to let me know that my 2 days of editing are actually
It's worth it.
worth it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys a ton for watching them. But for those of you who are watching the video podcast, we should have incredibly better lighting
Yes.
next podcast, which is the next shorts and series podcast.
Yes. And if you did not notice in the live stream, which is unaffected by the audio quality of the post products, like the audio and the video version that go up later, but the actual live stream itself has better audio.
That was a very, very roundabout way to word that, and I barely followed you.
Okay. If you're watching this live, you're hearing us in higher quality, is what I was trying to say.
Yes. So basically, we were running into an issue with the live streaming where we couldn't figure out how to get good quality audio to the live stream. So we had to use the webcam's built-in microphone,
Not the best.
which if you've ever had a Skype call with someone using their built-in microphone, it sounded pretty much exactly like that. Very low quality. It's fine if you just need to make a phone call with someone.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But if you want, good quality audio entertainment, which let's face it, Nick, we are the pinnacle of on the internet.
Yeah,
we
we are.
provide the best podcast there are at all
Right.
on the internet.
Also, the best grammar there is.
Yes.
Just saying.
You had to go and insult my grammar.
I have made a habit of it. Okay, at work, I am definitely the grammar Nazi.
You're the grammar Nazi everywhere.
Yes, but at work, I don't choose who I hang out with, and normally the people I choose to hang out with have better grammar.
Nick, let me just make this illustration.
Okay.
If grammar Nazis were an actual thing,
Right.
you would be the Hitler
Wow.
of grammar Nazis.
Okay, I feel like that's not entirely true.
You're up there.
Okay, I'll go for like a top officer in the SS.
You're
I don't know if I'm literally Hitler.
okay. You're maybe not literally Hitler.
Okay.
But you're definitely one of his top officers.
Okay.
Not in, the actual Nazi.
Right.
'Cause that's bad.
I'm not racist.
No.
No.
You're just elitist in your spelling.
Yes. I don't like bearing
It's
witness
still a-
to the degradation of the language we all speak.
We all speak. So now you think
No, well, okay,
everyone in
okay,
the world
okay,
must
okay.
speak English. Is
No,
that
that's
your
not at all what
Nick,
I was trying to say.
Nick, is that your Aryan agenda?
Yes.
You want to convert the whole world to speak English impeccably. Is it?
Yes. I'm going to yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay. You've heard it here, everybody. Nick is a genocidal racist.
What does that have to do? Does that mean I kill anybody who doesn't speak it? That's not at all what I say. I would just have to teach it to them.
Okay, that is a much...
I'm not genocidal about it at all.
Okay.
In
good.
fact, it's philanthropic
Well, we were using the Nazi analogy, so I just assumed.
that I was going to murder millions of people. That seems like a pretty large assumption. I don't know.
Well, we were using the analogy
Right.
of Nazis.
Okay.
This got dark fast.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
So microphones
yeah.
is what we were originally talking about.
Yes. I feel like these microphones are pretty good quality.
Yes, they're not bad. The audio recorder is top notch. It's literally one of the best portable audio recorders on the market.
Yes. But none of that matters because we're not using the built-in microphone that came with the recorder.
Right.
So we're getting better. If you guys are watching the video podcast, we're getting better stick
Yes.
microphones.
Yes, better stick microphones, and the live broadcast will actually hear us talking through the stick microphones
Yes.
as opposed to the built-in webcam microphones.
Yes. So right now we have it set up to where instead of the built-in webcam microphone, if you're joining us in the live stream, you are hearing us through the microphones that we're using for the podcast that we always use.
Yes.
Granted, it's not as good quality because it's having to be processed over the internet in real time.
Yes, so lower quality, but better quality than before.
Better than a typical Skype call.
Yes.
That should be the slogan for all of our...
man.
That should be the slogan for our podcast. Proactive Slacker Media. Better than an average Skype call.
Okay. I like how we put the average in there, as if the best of the best Skype calls are not as good as us, or are better than us.
Yeah, we're on par with really top tier Skype calls.
Okay.
That's our new branding.
I feel like we've achieved everything we can.
We should
That's the max. We've hit our limit.
We should market ourselves that way.
Okay.
We are also ordering better microphones.
Yes, better stick microphones specifically.
Yes. So I don't think that'll be a vastly noticeable change.
No, I don't think so.
But you will be able to hear the tones of our amazing voices in all of its splendor.
Yes.
You won't miss a single range of amazing seductiveness.
Okay. That aside, technically, I believe it has better bass pickup. So you'll be able to hear our voices more fully because it's designed for vocal speaking.
Yes.
So it's got a better bass pickup.
So we're getting better gear, basically.
Essentially.
Is the very roundabout and technically nitpicky, detaily way to say that.
Right.
I'm sure most of you probably don't care.
So
As long as we keep providing you content, most of you probably don't care how we do it.
that's the plan. But
Yes.
we're going to make it better continuously.
We are going to make it better. And, Nick, not only are we being productive because we're getting better gear
Right.
and better setups,
Sure.
but we're also finally getting back into video.
Yes, I'm very excited about that. I've missed it considerably.
I have to. Making video is true. It's so much more painstakingly frustrating to film and
Yeah.
edit, but it's more fun.
Yeah, it's definitely, the reward is proportionate to the work you put in.
Yes.
Um,
yes.
I will say recently, and by recently I mean earlier this week, my sister was going through old pictures and then started going through old videos, and then we started watching our old videos. So I watched Cola Clash
Oh, that was a
again
good one.
recently. And as terrible as it was, it really made me miss filming things.
Cola Clash, it's one of those things where at the time it seems great.
Right. Oh my gosh. I was so amazed.
I was so proud
Yeah.
of Cola Clash. Almost every single video I make, I'm insanely proud of it until about 3 months later.
Yeah.
And then I look back.
As you get a little bit better, you're like, oh no, that was crap.
Cola Clash was awful.
Throw it out.
For those of you who are long-term fans of our work, you may have seen Cola Clash.
Or may have at least heard about us talk it. That was just wow. You may have heard us talk about it,
Yes.
is what I was trying to say on one of our previous podcasts.
Yes. And is basically the premise was somebody who loves Coke
Right.
and somebody who loves Pepsi.
Exactly. Fight to the death.
Yes.
So,
There you go.
yep.
Go
that was
watch
pretty
it.
much it. If you want to.
It's very bad. If you want to see us very young with horrible videos, and basically if you want to laugh at us being horrible content creators, then go there.
Yeah.
And watch that.
It's good.
So, so I'm saying we're getting back into video.
Yes.
We're finally getting back into video production. And by that, I do not mean video podcasts.
Right.
Granted, that is one video thing we're doing. And Nick, did I mention we're doing video podcasts
We
now?
are. I think we've mentioned it several times.
Okay.
Across several podcasts.
Okay. Well, if you guys aren't watching the video podcast, definitely do so. YouTube.com/proactive slackers. Nick, do you think that was subtle?
No.
Oh.
Subtlety is not your strong suit, Devin.
Oh.
I'm just saying. I'm just going to put that out there.
I should probably work on that a bit more.
I don't know if you need to.
Okay. I just wanted to let them know that we're doing
Right.
video podcasts. And they
Yeah.
could find it on our YouTube page.
YouTube.com/proactive slackers.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Was that better?
Yeah. I feel like my subtlety in providing the link was the most subtle of that entire conversation.
Okay.
The most subtle thing.
Okay, good. But Nick, we're actually doing proper video shows now.
Yes.
not now, but we have them lined up to begin production
Exactly.
shortly.
So this is the hype. We're hyping you guys up right now.
Yes, and I figure we could talk about some of our ideas in our projects.
I think so. We're going to briefly go over some of the bigger ideas.
Yes. The first of which, and the one I'm most excited for, is a YouTube show that we're going to do called, well, it's not called this. This is just a placeholder. It might end up being called this. We might come up with a better title.
The working title,
The working title of this project is Crap TV.
Crap TV. Yep.
And basically, it's going to be a show where we bash really horrible television that should not be allowed to ever be seen by the human eye.
Okay.
Never, ever be seen by the human eye.
He's going a bit crazy there. Devin is definitely more
Passionate.
passionate about this topic, yes. But basically, we're going to be arguing against the premises of various terrible TV shows.
Yes. And then make it funny as well. So it's not just going to be us in front of a camera like, this is dumb and why would you watch this and the plot's horrible. It's going to be us very, hopefully, intelligently bringing up points and counterpoints to the show and then very humorously working in jokes about it and poking fun at it.
Yes. And then towards the end, providing an alternative internet-based production that would be vastly improved consumption for you.
Yeah, so I guess the simple way to sum it up is the premise of every episode is going to be, here's the show. It's television. It's very big budget, very well funded by networks and whatnot. This is why it's terrible and should never be seen by the human eye ever. And this is some online media that you might enjoy that's actually really top quality. So it's going to be a show where we bash television and then direct you to the Shorts and Series podcast.
Yeah.
Where you could find out about wonderful online content that is
Exactly.
way better and produced for way cheaper.
Exactly.
So basically, pointing out that big Hollywood studios aren't necessarily the people to go to for great content.
Yeah, it's almost the exact opposite of our Shorts and Series podcast. It's a video production, so it's not a podcast. Opposite there.
Yes.
It's bashing TV shows instead of promoting online content.
Yes.
So completely opposite there. It's the opposite.
It's the antithesis.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel
That's
like
a better word.
Yeah, it's the antithesis of the Shorts and Series podcast.
Right.
And I feel like it's good to have because it's more fun to make fun of stuff than to praise it. Granted, I love the Shorts and Series podcast. I love promoting great content that's online. But I also really, really love just bashing horrible content.
It's true. He enjoys it immensely. I'll tell you that much.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be Devin-centric because of how much he enjoys hating on these shows.
Yes. And
I'm going to say you're the Hitler of bad TV.
okay,
If we're making Hitler comparisons.
that's not a fair comparison.
No?
How is that a fair comparison?
You're going to be digitally bashing the skulls of bad TV shows.
Okay, and?
I feel like I'm verbally bashing people's grammar. I think that's a very apt comparison.
Do you know?
I do.
All I want to do is make sure these television shows that are horrible and have no place among the higher elite ranks of more pure forms of entertainment never see the light of day and die a horribly slow death. How is that in any way comparable to Hitler?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe replace the word TV show with Jewish person.
Whoa, Nick.
Then suddenly it's terrible.
Way too far. Way too far.
Sorry, my bad.
So basically, that's the idea for the show. The genesis behind this idea comes from our old YouTube channel.
Yes, Devin's most viewed video, in fact.
Most viewed video I've ever made was made back in, I believe, 2011 on a very...
Solid year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. 2011 was one of my first ever videos, actually, on that channel.
Yeah, on that channel.
It was one of the first ever videos that was viewed that much that I produced that was early on in me regularly trying to produce videos.
Yes.
Because up until that point, it was just us getting together and filming random goofy crap for school or just for the fun of it. But when I decided I want to do regular content for people's enjoyment, and I'm going to hold myself to that. Every week I'm going to make a video. When I first decided to be an entertainer.
Right.
That was one of my first videos as an entertainer. And It's called Toddlers and Tiaras. That was the title of the
Yep.
video. And I basically tore apart Toddlers and Tiaras just based off the trailer. I was like, this is why this is a horrible show and corrupting society, and it's just awful. And that video has the most views out of any video I've ever made, even though the production value is horrible.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't call it horrible. It was not as bad as it could have been.
true, based off of the equipment I had at the time, which is nowhere near what we have now.
Yeah.
It was a Sony SR68, something like that.
Okay. Let's talk about nitpicky details.
Yeah, it was basically a very, very, very cheap and crappy camcorder, a handy cam, basically, that I think only shot up to 360p resolution.
Wow.
Had horrible picture. Like, it was just, the contrast was awful. Horrible image. But it was all I had, so I used it, and then I just used the built-in mic of the camcorder. So very bad quality.
Yeah.
But I think there's a few reasons why it's my most viewed video ever. 3 reasons in particular.
It's titled the same thing as a very popular TV show.
That helped.
So
I guess
searching for it easy.
4 things.
Okay.
Because it was just called Toddlers and Tiaras, when people would search it, it'd pop up. The second thing is, because it's based off of Toddlers and Tiaras, it has tie-in with pop culture that a lot of people are very familiar with.
Yeah.
So that's 2 of the 4. Third thing, what was I trying to say there? Controversy.
I feel like that's what you were trying to say. You just kind of stopped in the middle.
I did. That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
Yes.
So your opinion was controversial.
Yes. Controversy.
And the topic also controversial.
Yes. So the controversy, third point, helps drive views because people like videos where there's going to be controversy because people just love conflict on a fundamental level.
Yeah.
Because literally all the comments in that video were people being like, oh, well, that's not true, or you don't know what you're talking about, or I entirely agree with you. And you, other commenter, you're horribly wrong. Let me reply to you in a very horrible way.
Yep.
And just comment wars was all that video was.
I feel like a lot of people who got to that video might have been just clicking on, like they actively were watching clips from Toddles and Tiaras.
Toddles?
Toddles
Toddles and Tiaras.
Toddles and Tiaras. I don't know what that means, but
we're just not having a good night on the speaking front.
apparently.
And here you are, Mr. High and Mighty. Oh, I am the Adolf Hitler of proper grammar, and I'm going to...
still have not called myself Hitler.
Well, it's what I'm using, Nick.
Okay.
You're the High and Mighty grammar chief here, and you can't even speak properly. What does that say about you? See, me...
Perhaps that I'm nervous speaking to the internet. Like
Okay.
Public speaking.
That might be
I would
true.
say that's a good reason.
Okay. See, me, I have an excuse. I don't claim to be a grammar elitist, so I can butcher my speech as much as I want.
Right.
Like a little while ago, when I mess up the word controversy,
Yeah.
that's fine,
Sure.
because I'm not claiming to be perfect, and you
Okay.
are.
I don't remember claiming to be perfect. In fact, I think I argued that I wasn't.
You're
Can
still...
we check the tape? Because I definitely argued that I wasn't.
Well, Nick, you're still grammar Nazi Hitler.
Okay. Anyway, my original point was I think people got to that video by starting to watch clips from the show and then clicking on suggested videos so much that it got to that video.
Yes, that, and I also... This is back in the ye old days when YouTube had the video response functionality,
Oh, yeah.
which they recently got rid of. I made that video a video response to the Toddlers and Tiaras official trailer.
Okay.
So
That makes sense then.
and I was critiquing the trailer itself in the video I made.
Specifically? Okay.
So it's a very relevant tag. But those things, I think, are the melting pot that drives views.
yes.
Is conflict, controversy, pop culture, and the title.
And the title.
The title.
Okay.
Title's vastly
Right.
important.
What about the synopsis?
Not as important.
Okay, darn it.
Not
Well,
very
I'm
many
out of a
people.
job.
Not very many people actually read the video descriptions on YouTube. It turns out.
Well, that's because they don't show up till you've already clicked the video.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying most people don't actively go searching for information in the description.
Okay. That's a fair point.
So that video, 10,000 views.
Yes.
Now I'm kind of kicking myself now for not picking up on that early and starting this show then. That way we would be in a much better place now.
I feel like we've been throwing ideas about similarly based shows since.
Well, I meant like doing regular videos about that.
Right. I feel like we've been throwing around ideas about that for a long time, but we just
Never-
are now actually getting around to doing it.
Yes.
Okay.
And so obviously, there's a demand for that kind of stuff, and there's people who actually will watch that. So much so that I think the regular amount of views I would get on my videos was like 80 views, and this one had 10,000.
Right.
So I think if this is a regular show, this is something that people are going to want to tune in on a regular basis to watch.
Yes.
So we're gonna be doing that.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're going to try to make it a monthly show. We'll see. We have no idea when the first episode will be out. That's a lot of work was going to go into it, but
Yeah.
we'll keep you guys up to date for sure.
Yes, it's going to be much more polished and professional than the original Toddlers and Tiaras video.
Yeah, hopefully the resolution will just be better.
Yes, and I've already designed a rough draft of the intro title card, which if you're watching the video podcast is going to conveniently fade in right now so you can look at it.
Okay.
There it is. Look at all of its splendor. That took about 2 to 3 hours of photoshopping.
This is one thing about you that you may or may not realize. When you get very excited about an idea, the first thing you do is Photoshop together the like cover or whatever.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, because
And I feel like that sometimes exhausts the amount of effort you're willing to put into the idea. So it might be a hindrance at some points.
sometimes I think the reason most of the time I come up with an idea for a show or for a podcast or for whatever, and I immediately feel the need to Photoshop the album art or the title card or the poster or whatever, because in my creative process, that helps me solidify the tone and the feel and the idea itself. Because when I
Okay, yeah,
have
you're
something,
a very, very, very visual person.
yeah, when I have something visual to look at, I'm like, okay, this symbolizes the show.
Okay.
It then helps me, based off of that, derive all the other things that need to be done for it, like I guess the actual acting itself, the scripting, the way the conversation flows. I'm like, okay, now that I have something to look at, I can now base that. So that's how
I don't need anything to look at, which is, I think,
you're a very logical, fact-driven person.
yep.
I think for you, it's
Spock.
I think for you, it's all words.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like, give me a bullet point and I'm good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just title the Google Documents document as crappy TV or whatever, and that's all I need.
Yes, but just a bullet point of all the main things that you need to know about it.
Exactly. Yep.
Me, I'm like, nope, I need something to look at. Otherwise, I can't wrap my brain around it.
Okay.
Well, I can wrap my brain around it. I can't wrap my creativity around it.
Okay. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you think in words or pictures?
I think in pictures.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Really? I feel like most people do.
I don't at all.
I think-
I mean, I do occasionally. Like, I can visualize pictures or scenes or whatnot.
But only if you absolutely need to.
But yeah, I have to actively try to do that. Normally, I think in words, almost like, you know, those like banners that crawl across TV screens, like in the lower third. Sometimes that it'll be like
On like news
Yeah.
broadcasts.
Exactly. That's more or less how I think, as like a continuous stream of consciousness type thing with words.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's bizarre. I always just assume everybody thought in pictures and emotions all the time.
Absolutely not.
That's how I think.
That is not how I think.
I think that's why we're such a good creative team, is because,
I can deal with the words, you can deal with the pictures.
well, on a very
Okay.
basic level, that sounds very
Right.
childish, but essentially, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You provide, like, I come up with ideas and creativity, and you actually structure it to actually work.
Yeah.
And be a
Reality.
thing. Yeah, because otherwise I never get anything done. I'm like, idea. And this has been true
It's absolutely
for
has been
me
true.
for forever. I'm like, idea, another idea. I think they're great things. I just never act on them and get them done because I don't have the organizational and technical and detailed mind to actually sit down and do the boring work of making it a
I
thing.
don't think it's boring. That's
I think
where
it's
we differ.
dreadfully dull.
Yeah, I actually think as like predictive conversations a lot. Like when I'm planning on talking to someone, I actively go through and like rehearse in my head what I think I'm going to start the conversation off saying, and then what they'll respond to, and then my response to that. Like that happens on a very regular basis in my brain.
You're weird.
Okay.
You're so weird.
All right.
But now that you've seen a little look into the creative process of Practice Hacker Media, there's two other shows which are more in the formulation stage and not as likely to actually be shows. but I think we could still talk about them.
Okay.
One of which being, Nick, you know that there's pretty much a tutorial video for everything
I do know that. Yeah.
on YouTube. Like,
Right.
you could just go to YouTube and type in how to and then fill in the blank.
Yeah. I believe there's whole channels and series dedicated to specifically that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're always for tutorials that actually make sense, like stuff that you actually need to know.
Yep.
I was thinking of doing a show where it's just a collection of tutorials for literally everything you need. Like, even the stuff that you don't need a tutorial video for. So basically, to mock the fact that we need the internet for everything,
Right.
and basically just play off of that. So it'd be a tutorial, but presented seriously. So
Yeah. No.
that
That would be the funniness.
Yeah,
The
that'd be
humor
where-
would come from that.
exactly. That's where the humor would lie. So it's completely serious, but it's like, hello, welcome to Everyday Tutorials, and today we're going to be tackling something that a lot of people have trouble with, and I figure I could just help out with, which is how to toast a Pop-Tart. Now,
Okay.
here's what you're going to need, and that shows the counter, and it shows the
Right.
box of Pop-Tarts, a toaster.
The first thing that I thought of when you said that just now,
Yes.
I've actually known people who have had issues toasting
A Pop-Tart.
just anything in general. Like, they couldn't seem to comprehend that the dial with the numbers on it equate to longer times it was being toasted. So they would always set it to whatever and then just assume that was good for everything.
See, we have
And then they'd burn things.
we have a really fancy toaster at our apartment.
Oh, do you?
We have two dials.
Oh, wow.
One is for the heat setting, and one's for the time.
Oh, that introduces way too many variables.
Oh, yeah, totally. But it'd be stuff like that. It's like, okay, what you're going to need is a toaster and some Pop-Tarts. Now, the first thing you want to do is open up the box of Pop-Tarts, and this can be dangerous sometimes. We want to avoid cardboard cuts because, those can be a bugger. So first thing we're going to do is
Bugger.
we're gonna put on,
Are we in Ender's Game?
I guess.
Okay.
First thing we're going to do is put on some protective gloves. We don't want to deal with cardboard cuts. There's just a hassle. So I prefer...
Okay, that you might be taking it too far.
Well, that's the point. Is make it
Right.
ridiculous. Because if it's
Okay.
just step one, open the toaster packet.
Open the toaster packet.
Yeah. And then take out the toaster pastry.
Okay.
AKA Pop-Tart.
Right.
And then-
I feel like you're running with your mistake at this point.
I am.
Okay.
And you totally just blew the fact that I tripped over my words by drawing so much attention to it. Thank you, Mr. Literal Nazi Hitler Grammar Man.
Can I get that on a name tag? Hey, I came up with my nameplate for this week.
Did you?
On the video podcast, our nameplate's at the bottom. Mine's going to be literal Nazi Hitler German man or whatever you just said.
Literal Nazi Hitler Grammar Man.
Yeah, that's going to be with
gonna be-
hyphens in between every word.
It's going to be very
yeah.
small font. But if you guys are watching the video podcast, you would have already seen that on our title cards.
Exactly.
And now you know where that came from. You're
So,
welcome.
It's almost like foreshadowing.
There we go.
There we go.
Wow, where were we? We were talking about the Pop-Tarts.
Sure.
But yeah, it'd be like tutorial videos like that.
Okay.
So just really ridiculous stuff that there's no need to have a tutorial video for, but do a tutorial video anyways.
Right.
And that'd be the show.
So I don't know if this is enough for an entire show, but we'll see. That video with the Pop-Tart specifically is definitely going to be made at some point.
Yes.
I can for sure say that. We might be doing a series of skits, essentially, or sketches, or whatever you want to call them. And it might show up in that instead, but we'll see.
We may. Again, it comes down to time, which we do not have a lot of.
Effort and energy,
Yeah.
which we also don't have a lot of.
Exactly. Because we get exhausted by the jobs that steal our time.
Yeah.
And then we're just like, I just want to sleep and relax. I don't want to do anything.
Exactly.
So that's our life, everybody.
We have to overcome the slacker inside of us.
And be proactive.
Exactly.
Hence the title of our company. So that's another show. The last show is, I guess, the most tentative of all of them. But for any of you who watch Rooster Teeth content,
Okay.
you may be familiar with a little show called Rage Quit,
Yes, with Michael Jones.
which the entire show is basically a guy who plays video games that are either very stupid or very difficult or both, and then proceeds
Yeah.
to...
Combined with the fact that he is not good at video games.
True.
Despite playing them as frequently as he does, he's still not very good at them.
Yes. So it's just a video of a guy who's failing at a very difficult video game, yelling at the top of his lungs about how horrible the game is for
Pretty
about
much.
10 minutes.
It's very amusing, very vulgar and loud, but very amusing.
Yes.
I enjoyed immensely.
And we're thinking of potentially doing our little spin on that. For those of you who listen to the Nerd News podcast, which, by the way, Nick, is our most listened to podcast.
I'm not surprised. It's very relevant,
It is.
especially to an audience of nerds.
I just find it's weird how it's the podcast we do the least frequently
Yeah.
and arguably has the worst audio because the room the room we record in is very echoey.
And yeah, it's very small.
And
But on the plus side, it's not 80 billion degrees.
that's true. If this, oh man, your room, literally.
Okay, you said room there. I think you meant podcast studio.
Well,
All right.
Let's
not blur lines.
we're not in a bedroom right
No,
now, are we?
of course not.
No, we're totally in a very
I
state
don't
of the
sleep
art.
right there.
There's no bed right there.
Exactly.
There's no closet right there.
Nope.
This is a very high tech podcasting studio.
Exactly.
In LA.
Wow. I mean, sure.
So
Anyway, the point is it gets blisteringly hot in here with all of our computer, audio, video, lighting, equipment running, as well as the small confines of the room
see,
and two sweaty dudes. It just gets hot.
it does. And here's the thing, Nick. You have your window open right now.
I do have my window open.
It is literally below zero outside.
Yes, it is.
Today, I think the lowest it got today was 8 below.
Okay.
And it maxed out at around like maybe 10 degrees.
All right.
But right now, it's below 0.
Mm-hmm.
You have your window open.
I do.
I am pleasantly comfortable.
Yes.
That
Which
should
is
tell
rare,
you.
which is rare.
That should tell you how hot it gets in your room.
Exactly.
It is literally. If I were to go outside, it's that temperature where when you walk outside, and if you were to flare your nostrils, you would feel
The
snot cracking because it froze inside your nose.
Yep.
Which is, if you live somewhere cold, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yes, you will.
You've experienced it. Where the snot literally freezes. It's that cold outside. Your window's open. I'm pleasantly warm.
Yeah. It's
that
like
baffles
it's
me.
like 75, 80 degrees in here.
It's insane. And so during the summer, when we record podcasts in here, oh my God. That'll be interesting to see on the video podcast, just to see if you could see the sweat like gathering.
And the pool rising.
I don't think it's that bad. Well, I would be worried if our bodies were getting rid of that much water.
Okay.
To where we could fill up your room, have a sweat,
It's a pretty large square footage in liquid.
a sweat swimming pool in your room.
Oh, that is
That's great mental
probably
imagery.
the most disgusting visual image I've ever heard you say.
Yes. We're also drifting incredibly off track because there was the show I was going to talk about. Because we were
Yeah,
talking about
sure.
Rage Quit.
Okay, yeah.
We were thinking of doing our own twists.
With Dan of Nerd News, which is how we
Yes.
got here. Okay,
That is how this whole tangent began
Exactly.
in the first place.
you're welcome.
So if you listen to Nerd News, you'll be familiar with our third co-host, Daniel Medina.
All right, fully official name.
Yes. He joins us on the Nerd News podcast, which you should listen to if you do not.
But we're assuming that you do.
We're assuming that you do because it's our most listened to podcast.
So, what is the strange thing that Dan does?
Dan is, for his age, this is very odd, in my opinion.
For his age, the age of time that we're currently occupying, and his personality. For all of those reasons.
That was a very weird way to word that. Why do you do? You take these very simple points that I say that are very, very just self-explanatory, and you feel the need to complicate them in the weirdest way
I
possible.
don't know. Did you get what I was saying, though?
I
That it's
did.
2014?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, for the time we're set in,
Right. Exactly. The period of time we're currently occupying.
yeah, that's just a weird way to word it. So for it being 2014 and for Dan being as young as he is, this is a really weird habit he has.
Right.
Which is he's an avid fan of The Price is Right.
Bob Barker.
He loves The Price is Right.
Is Bob Barker even the host still?
No. I think it's Drew Carey last time I watched.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like, because they just started doing Who's Line again, right?
They did, but
and
it's
Drew
not.
Carey is not the host anymore.
No, he's
It's,
not.
what's her name? She's very funny.
She is.
She's the voice actress of Lana and Archer. I don't know her name.
Anyway.
that was where Drew Carey belonged.
On which one?
On Who's Line?
Whose Line?
Yeah.
I would agree. He was much more funny on Whose Line. But I believe he's hosting Price is Right. The whole point behind this is Dan is an avid viewer of The Price is Right. Okay?
Yes.
And he is the angriest viewer
Well,
of The Price is Right that I know of.
okay, that's a good qualifier because I feel like there are angrier people in the world that watch The Price is Right.
Yes. I have been in his presence during during a viewing of The Price is Right with Dan Medina. He will literally yell at the screen and the people that cannot hear him about
Right.
how horrible they are and how dumb they are and what decisions they should have made. Literally at the top of his lungs, like, you're an idiot. Now he's gonna outbid you. Oh look, he just won the bid because you're a moron and you didn't say that it should have been this price. Like he just yells at the screen, calling every single contestant moronic.
Yeah. Okay, here's my main issue with that. I don't understand when people try to affect change on a pre-recorded anything.
Yes.
See, for the Rage Quit show that Michael Jones does for Rooster Teeth, it makes sense. He's live, actively participating in the game.
Yes.
So he can affect change by, changing the way he's playing it.
Yes.
So that makes sense to me. When you're yelling at something that's been pre-recorded and there's no physically conceivable way that the person can change their actions based on what you're saying, why are you doing it?
Nick, I've just thought of a great analogy to tie this all together.
Okay.
You are the literal Hitler of grammar Nazis, right?
Sure.
Dan is the literal Hitler of game shows. He feels, I think the motivation for him behind yelling at all the contestants, he knows they can't hear him.
Right.
He knows it's pre-recorded. It's just, he knows he's superior in his...
Yeah, so it's a power trip.
Yeah, he's superior in his price deduction skills.
Okay.
And so we've been thinking of making a show where it's literally just a screen capture of an episode of The Price is Right as Dan watches it, and then his voiceover commentary of the show where he's just basically just capture a normal moment of him yelling about the contestants and how horrible they are, but just display it on the internet for all to see and maybe call it The Price is Wrong. It's a very, very clever title.
Clever title. I have a feeling it's not going to happen.
True.
And here's why.
I think I know exactly what you're going to say.
Dan's not going to do the same performance that he does to himself to the microphone. He's not going to carry that across. He's too...
reserved?
Yeah, but the word I'm looking for is in his own head to be able to put himself out there.
I don't know what word you're looking for. You're the grammar Nazi.
Well, no, I just came... That was the phrase.
Oh.
I found it.
Okay.
It was in your own head.
Okay.
That was the phrase I was looking for.
Yes.
Not a word.
There's a few reasons. One, I'm not sure he'd be able to have the same boldness and aggressiveness on a continuous basis, knowing that he's presenting for an audience.
Yeah.
Which I think is a much more, again, simplistic way to word what you said in a very convoluted way. That's what I'm here for, to simplify your statements.
I take pride in convoluting what I say to the point where people have to struggle to understand it. And
I take pride in providing content that our listeners can understand.
Yes,
and you just ruin that every
okay.
opportunity you get.
I feel like
very
that's not true.
aggravating.
I feel like that's not true. I feel like
it's very true.
This week in particular has been worse.
I would agree on that as well.
Okay, and my defense is I had a rough day at work, and I was doing that all day at work because I was irritated with my coworkers. And so when I get irritated with my coworkers, I try to reestablish my superiority by talking above them.
Okay.
That's just something that I do, and I've been carrying it across.
So it's your own power trip. Dan finds,
absolutely.
Dan finds his power trip in The Price is Right, and you find yours in being condescending towards coworkers.
Exactly.
That's healthy.
Okay. Well, I have an interesting story. If you are you willing to listen to it?
Yes, I just have one last point.
Okay.
The other reason I don't think that would be a feasible show is potential copyright issues.
Yeah.
Because with fair use says as long as it's critique, commentary, review, you're good.
Right.
You can use copyright content. This idea walks the line, very fine lines. Like, you could argue it's commentary and critique.
So it's a great show until we're popular enough for the whatever channel that hosts Price is Right to notice.
So are you saying we should wait until we can afford lawyers?
Well, I was saying that it would work now as we're small, but when we get bigger, that'll be pulled.
Okay, because
what I'm saying.
Probably once YouTube catches on. See, and that's the thing. It's like again, it's the fine line. It's not necessarily a headache I want to risk.
Exactly.
So, anyways, your story.
Okay. So at work, we have a whiteboard, right?
Yes,
And it's where previous managers have written, notes or whatever, and then displayed certain things that the company tries to tell them to display. The current manager, far too lazy to ever do that, which I enjoy. He's a very laid back manager. But one of my coworkers took it upon herself to start using the Blackboard to write different things, like talk about the current status or events, like whatnot. Like because it was Super Bowl last week, that was what the board was talking about, was how to prepare. And then she puts like goals in there. This week, she decided to underline more than 3 words in every sentence.
I feel like you're being incredibly nitpicky, but continue.
Okay. And that's not too bad, but I asked her if she knew that if underlining everything to make it all super important makes it all the same level of importance. Like if you underline everything, nothing's more important than anything else.
True.
Right. So I pointed that out. She got irritated and erased the entire board and wrote she wrote new goals, which were sarcastic comments saying she should learn how to spell and underline things properly. And then the next goal was try not to be laughed at or made fun of by me, Nick Smith. And so then I took the marker and wrote next to that, pro tip, you can't.
Oh, I feel like
It was amazing.
I feel like insulting your manager, not necessarily a great idea.
Yeah, he'd be too lazy to listen to this podcast, so
True.
I'm not worried about it, and he wouldn't be insulted by it. He's not lazy. He works very hard to make sure everything that needs to be done gets done.
Right.
But nothing beyond that. If
Okay.
it doesn't need to get done, he does not do it. And he feels the same way about everyone else. Work as hard as you can to make sure everything that needs to be done is done, but you don't have to do any more than that, essentially.
Gotcha.
So it's essentially exactly how I would manage.
Okay, that makes sense, and it's reasonable.
Yeah.
Don't go above and beyond. Don't try Excel. Just be mediocre.
Yeah, don't go above and beyond for minimum wage, essentially. So
Yeah, screw the raise. I don't need it. I'll just do exactly only what I have to do and not impress because I don't want to raise.
well, okay.
Squeaky.
To be fair, that's not how I work.
No,
I work and I
know.
impress, and I have gotten several raises. So
Lucky you. I've gotten one.
yeah, well, you're still making more than me.
I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, I'm sure that you are.
Speaking of money, shall we dive into a very controversial topic?
Sure.
Okay. That being crowdfunding.
Okay, what about it?
I was watching a YouTube video today. It was basically one of the promo teasers that precedes a Kickstarter campaign.
Sure.
It was by Brandon of Rocket Jump.
Sure.
So if you guys are familiar with YouTube, we've talked about Rocket Jump a few times.
Yes, Freddie Wong's company that he started.
Yes. They produced Video Game High School, which we just finished reviewing the first season of on the Shorts and Series podcast.
Yes, good season. Good season.
Great work. And Brandon helps out with the production of that channel's work. He's decided to launch his own project. And he released the teaser, which is exclusively, it's going to be a Minecraft feature film. And the teaser was like a 2-minute video displaying the kind of effects they're going for and the plot and whatnot. And it looks very interesting and very cool, right?
Okay, yeah. I'm definitely willing to give it a watch. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Is it live action?
The actors are live action.
Right.
Everything else is CG.
Okay. Right. That's kind of what I was imagining.
So, and it goes along with the little gimmicks and jokes of Minecraft physics and whatnot.
Sure.
And it's very funny. Just seeing the juxtaposition of real life people in the game environment with physics that make no sense.
I am that would be a great video,
Yes.
full feature. I'm not behind
Okay.
financially.
True. Now that's very interesting because I thought it was a relatively decent idea. And
Well, I feel like without a super compelling plot, it's going to be just that gimmick of putting real people in the Minecraft world.
true. Now the whole point of bringing this up again is because of crowdfunding.
Okay.
So he did that two 2-minute teaser, right?
Sure.
And then at the very end, he says, "Hey, if you want to figure out more about this film and how you could help it, then check the link below." That's literally all he said.
Right.
And then it's a link to Kickstarter. He didn't say, "Hey, I
me
want money."
Right.
He just said, "If you want to learn more about how you could help this project,
Okay.
click the link below." That's all he said, right?
I like that. That's definitely not in your face, but you need to tell people.
Now, crowdfunding, such a controversial topic on the internet.
Yes.
So controversial.
I will have you know, though,
Yes.
that I have successfully funded 3 Kickstarter campaigns.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
I think this is the way most content should be funded from now on. I think
Yes.
it's a much more efficient and effective way.
I just recently funded Kung Fury, which was a feature film.
You told me about this.
Yes, a retro 80s style. He fights the Kung Fuhrer, which is
Oh my gosh.
Hitler who knows Kung Fu.
He's the literal Hitler of Kung Fu.
Yes. And everything about it is amazing in every way. So I do feel like it's a good platform for independent filmmakers to get a budget together.
Exactly. Which up until recently has not been possible unless you make it successful in Hollywood, which is very rare.
Yes, or take out loans on the hope that you'll make money off of it.
Right. And the comments on this teaser video for his Minecraft movie Kickstarter campaign, the comments on it,
Okay, Devin's getting irritated, guys.
they incited me to do something which I rarely stoop so low to do.
Did you comment?
I engaged in comment wars.
Never comment to the troll.
I engaged in comment wars,
Okay.
which is something I very rarely do. Because I got so irritated reading the comments. The comments were divided into even thirds, pretty much. There's a third of the people who were like, "Wow, this looks awesome. I'm definitely going to visit the Kickstarter and see if I could help support." Right?
Sure.
The other
Reasonable
third,
response.
right? The other third were the Nicks of the group. Were like, "Oh, well, it's a cool idea, but I think I'll pass. But I hope you get it done. It looks cool."
Okay. Sure.
you're being-
Also a very reasonable response.
Right? They're being polite. They're like, "Well, I personally don't feel like backing it because of these issues.
Sure.
But it looks cool. Cool." And the last third, the ignorance of some people, Nick.
Ignorance. Okay. I'm prepared for this.
People just saying, "I've already watched your video. That's all you're getting out of me. Please stop begging for money." Or like, "I've been watching your videos for 2 years. Why are you all of a sudden asking me for money? Stop begging for money."
Wait. Do they not understand that that's how both seasons of VGHS were funded?
Exactly. Well, and this one guy did one huge long argument back and forth with another guy saying, even if I give them the money, there's no guarantee that they're going to come through on it. I don't want 2 years from now to see another Kickstarter campaign saying, "Sorry, guys, we ran out of money. Do we need more?" That was his whole basis of the argument.
Sure.
And the other guy the whole time was trying to say, well, just look at their track record. They've successfully funded 2 seasons of a web series, effectively a TV show,
Yeah.
and followed through on it.
Yeah.
They even raised more money than they needed to and gave more to the fans than they needed to. So,
Yep.
based off track record, I would say you're not going to run into that issue. And it's mostly people saying, why do I have to pay for good? A lot of people assumed that they had to pay to get it. A lot of people assumed that all YouTubers are just begging for money all the time now.
Okay. Because one YouTuber once said, if you guys would like to learn more about how you can help with this project, please click the Kickstarter link.
Exactly. That's why. And then some people.
Also, could be translated as, give me most of your money.
Yes, they're obviously synonymous
Now.
with each other, right?
Yeah.
And then the goal he set was $600,000.
Okay, that's pretty ambitious.
Right. But I also think most people don't understand the amount of money that has to go into major productions.
Okay, I would say that's true, but also a lot of people, I feel, get irritated with how much money they think they'll have to put forward because they see $600 million. That's a lot of money.
1,000.
Sorry.
600,000.
Definitely said millions.
It's definitely a lot less than that.
Yeah, by a factor of 10.
600 million is, even for a
That's
Hollywood,
a pretty good budget for a Hollywood movie.
that's a great budget.
Sorry. So $600,000. That's a lot of money.
Yes.
People don't assume, because crowdfunding works by getting a lot of people to donate small amounts of money, and it all
Yes.
adds up.
Yes.
Makes sense. A lot of people, I feel like, don't understand that mathematically. Like,
Exactly.
I have to give you $6,000 or whatever.
Yeah. I feel like most people, I think crowdfunding is a relatively new thing that I feel like most people are still learning about.
Yes.
Granted, we know about it because we're the age we are. Like, our generation's very familiar with this.
Yeah.
And two, we're heavily involved with media. So
Yes.
we were.
And 3, I've done it
Yes.
thrice.
So, thrice. I like that word.
Yeah.
Good work.
It's a good word.
So I feel like most people, again, feel like they have to pay, which is not true.
No.
And most of the comments I saw were just like, I don't want to pay. It's like, you don't have to. He's asking, if you want to, give the amount you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Do you know how much I gave Kung Fury?
$5?
Exactly $5. Yeah. There was a bunch of tiers, but I really didn't feel like giving them $20 or whatever the next tier up was. So I said, this seems like a cool project, but I don't want to spend a significant amount of money. But, if a ton of people give them $5, they have their budget.
Exactly.
So.
And it's just ridiculous because people assume that they have to pay for the contents or give a ridiculous amount of money. And one person, the person I replied to in the comment was saying, I miss the good old days when YouTubers weren't always begging for money all the time. Why did that suddenly start happening? And I replied, like, okay, first off, they're not begging. They're politely asking if you want, then, give some money if you feel like it.
Well, also not give me your money. It's fund my project.
Yes, it's not
Those
like,
are
give me your money.
Very different things.
Exactly. It's not, give me your money. I will now put it in my wallet. Thank you.
Right. No.
Have a good day.
Yeah. No. They don't use any of the money that you give them for a production. They literally spend all of it on production. Now, the profits of the production are certainly theirs.
Right.
But they put in a lot of work to earn that.
Exactly.
It blows my mind.
And that's the thing. And so this person was like, why are all YouTubers always begging for money all the time now? What happened in the good old days when that wasn't the case? What changed? And I said, you know what changed? Production value.
Yeah.
In the good old days, when you think about it, go back and watch old YouTube videos. They're not as good as you remember them being.
No.
I recently did that. I went back and I watched a whole bunch of my favorite YouTubers' first videos, like back in 07 to 09 range. They're bad. It's only been fairly recently, like 2010 and on, when production value started soaring.
Fairly recently.
The thing
4
is,
years ago.
Yes. When YouTube was back in, quote, the good old days,
Sure.
it was just people found extreme value, entertainment value, in somebody doing a webcam video showing off their cat.
Yeah.
And that was entertainment because...
The expectation has risen, and the artists have risen to meet that expectation, but they've encountered financial difficulties.
Exactly.
It just seems like a logical progression to me.
Well, and the reason that, we had basically just people rambling into webcams about nothing and showing off their cats was the basis of entertainment back in the old YouTube days because YouTube was a novelty. There wasn't anything else doing that. So
Yeah.
it didn't matter the quality. It's like, oh, cool, look at this.
Yeah.
People could do whatever entertainment they want. That's awesome. But now it's like, okay, now it's solidifying, finding its place in the media industry. It's like, okay, now we have to provide entertainment. You don't get that for free. You don't make VGHS, something that could easily be on TV, for free.
No. Lots of money, actually.
Yeah, and I think people are still stuck in that mindset where, oh, it's YouTube. Obviously, these people just make the videos by themselves with 500 friends who are okay with chipping in for free over a weekend and just upload it to YouTube. Obviously, that's how they do it. They do it for free, right? It doesn't take months of filming and editing and special effects work and paying cast and crew to show up and paying for gas and gear and whatnot. It's like, it's a big process now, and it takes money. And so I get irritated when people bash crowdfunding. Like there was that
Yeah, I do too, especially because there's so many good examples of it working.
oh yeah, like that Zach Braff movie. Have you heard about that?
That vaguely rings a bell, but
He funded, I think it's called Wish I Was Here. It is a
Okay.
movie that he directed, and I believe he raised like $2.2 million for it, or like 2.5
Wow.
on Kickstarter.
that's impressive.
And people were so upset with him. It was a huge controversy on the internet because people were saying, oh, he's making you pay for the movie twice. Once when you pay to get access to it, and the other when you get access to watch it later. It's like, no, No, you pay if you want. People, you pay if you want. It's not
Right.
that hard to understand.
Right. Okay.
And people,
So-
and people in the Hollywood, the traditional Hollywood industry, seeing. And by the way, Zach Braff plays JD in Scrubs.
Right.
For those of you who've watched Scrubs, he was raising the money for this movie. The people in the Hollywood industry were getting angry at him for finding a more efficient way than the studio
Yeah.
set up to do it.
Yeah, and the other thing is with Kickstarter specifically, you're usually receiving something on the back end of the project.
Right.
There's a reward that comes with it. If you donate above a certain threshold, they usually send you something special for that. Like I'm sure with this movie, if you funded it for probably more than like $25 or something, after it's done with its run in theaters and it's released on DVD, you'll get a copy of it. So essentially you paid $25 for the DVD 8 months early or whatever it is.
Right. Also, a lot of people seem to assume that just the money from YouTube monetization pays for all the production needs.
No.
Let me tell you. Okay.
This
Can I
is-
get honest here? I did YouTube on a consistent basis for 2.5 years. Guess how much money I made?
50 cents.
$35. And they won't send you the check until it's gone over 100.
Right.
So that's $35 that I just have sitting there that I'll never see.
Right.
Because it hasn't cleared $100, so I can't get that money.
Yep.
And I did the math once. That breaks down to less than 3 cents of an hour for work. 3 cents an hour for work. That's
Right.
less than minimum wage, Nick. A lot.
Yeah. To be fair though,
We're not the most well watched.
yeah. The view count lower than
But even then, like YouTube monetization, I think people assume you just make thousands of dollars off of YouTube monetization. You're good to go. In some cases, that's true for top level YouTubers, but even then, that money is immediately being turned back around on making more videos.
yeah.
And so, I don't want to go into a full rant on this forever.
It's too late.
But yeah, we have talked about it for quite a while. My whole purpose in this, we're eventually going to do crowdfunding. In fact, we're already doing crowdfunding technically.
With the
Patreon.
Patreon, yeah. I was trying to remember how to pronounce it correctly.
Which again, it's kind of the same idea. If you guys, for example, you just spent $200 on studio lighting.
250 something.
Yeah, I just spent roughly the same amount on new microphones.
Right.
Right?
Previously, I've spent 600
On our recorder.
on our audio recorder. That's why the audio sounds so good.
And I spent $180 on our first mic. Like altogether, if I had to estimate, I'd say we've put and then paying $20 a month for the web hosting and whatnot. Like I would say altogether, we've put a good $3,000, $3,000 to $4,000,
Easily.
and not made a penny.
No.
Which is fine because we love doing what we do.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like we would, regardless of whether or not we were a company or trying to make money, like we would still do what we're doing
Yeah.
because it's fun.
It's amazing.
But that's why we have Patreon. It's this thing. It's basically the same thing. Like you can choose how much you want to give a month, and you're not obligated to. You don't have to.
Right.
But if you choose to give $1 a month, then in 500 months we can pay off
Well,
the lights and the microphones.
The first $20 a month we're going to get will just cancel out the web hosting.
True.
So that's the first goal.
Yes.
See if we can get there first. Essentially, if you like our content enough to think you should have to pay for it or should want to pay for it, you can. But you
Yes.
don't have to.
No.
Right.
And so that's like the first little thing we've set up is the Patreon. Patreon.com/PSM.
Good plug.
Yeah. See, that was more subtle that time. I worked on it, Nick.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah, you're welcome. But like we talked about the shows and we talked about crowdfunding, and this
Yes.
all ties into the big way we might potentially find success doing this.
Okay.
You want to know what that is?
Crowdfunding.
No, that's an element. Okay. What we do is we have these shows, right? I think the most potential is the Crap TV.
Sure.
If that does well, we just make that as good as we possibly can and as regularly as we possibly can. See if it gets enough views to be noticed. Maybe do a little crowdfunding to be able to pay for certain projects, whatnot. Then we use the shows we produce
Sure.
that are consistent, good quality, entertaining.
Right.
We use that as portfolio to apply to multi-channel networks
Sure.
to be part of their network.
Okay.
So, like, for example, some of you who are hardcore YouTubers will know of Makers. They're a YouTube company that does stuff like Shay Carl's videos and whatnot. That kind of stuff. We could do a show or Revision 3.
Great MCN.
Yes, Revision 3 does Film Riot and a whole bunch of other...
Discovery stuff as well.
Yes. And
Philly
so...
DeFranco.
Is Philly D part of Revision 3?
Yes, he is.
Oh, I did not know that.
And he is probably the biggest source of my news that's not tech news.
Yes. And so basically...
Actually, the only.
Right.
I'm going to say that. I would not know anything of the outside world if it were not for Philly DeFranco.
And YouTube's success these days really boils down to being able to be part of a multi-channel network. So that's kind of the goal, is do the show just because it's fun and we want to do it. But then on the offhand chance we could use that as a portfolio to then get into a multi-channel network, I think we're good.
Okay.
So that's the long-term goal of this. This has been a very technical and businessy version of the Proactive Slacker podcast.
Okay.
But,
yeah,
you know,
I feel like it is. But
we got to get this out of our system every now and then.
yeah.
We can't argue about eggs every week. Well, we could.
You're still wrong, by the way.
We could argue about... I was right, Nick.
No.
Yes.
Okay, you told Daryl about this, yes?
I did.
Who did he agree with? Because I didn't get to hear that part.
He agreed with me.
Okay, then you're both wrong.
Okay, no. Eggs, if a food, Nick, has eggs in it, it does not automatically constitute it to be a breakfast food.
Not
Stir
in
fry?
every format.
Stir
no,
fry. But you didn't give that as a caveat in your original argument, so it can't be added later.
You mean I can't refine my argument, but you can?
I never refined it. Mine's been the same from the very beginning.
Right.
So you're wrong.
Okay.
For those of you who are confused, we argued about eggs like 2 podcasts ago, and apparently we have not yet resolved our issues.
No. I feel like having eggs constitutes breakfast food.
Yes.
Anyways, stir fry for breakfast if I have to prove it.
Okay. One more thing I want to talk about.
Okay, last thing, because we're way over on time.
Are we?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we are. Anyway, last thing I want to talk about is the end goal of this. Now, we've talked about a show that we desperately want to do.
Sure.
It's our biggest ambitious project probably ever that we'll ever do.
Are you talking about replacing the Reaper?
I am talking about replacing the Reaper. I love this idea. I think it has so much potential. Mm-hmm. So here's what we do. We use the shows that we're creating to make a portfolio to submit to a multi-channel network, get accepted by said multi-channel network, who then helps fund us so that we don't have to crowdsource, then helps fund us to produce Replacing the Reaper.
Okay, solid plan. I'll present my alternate plan. Make the show, have fun, later be more popular. 3 question marks for profit. No, 3 is be popular enough to get crowdfunded to make Replacing the Reaper.
Okay.
So either way, or a combination of the both.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Either way, I just want to make Replacing the Reaper.
I do
and
too.
I don't want to spare any expenses on it. I want it to be as good
we'll
as...
have to spare some, for sure.
Obviously.
But-
But I want it to be as good as we could possibly make it.
Okay.
Like professional actors, professional quality.
Well,
Not like, let's get Tom Cruise down here, or
no, we need
Let's
someone
get JJ
taller. Let's be serious.
let's get J.J. Abrams to direct it.
Okay, lens flares.
Lens flares galore.
Okay.
Not that level, but I just mean like people who do acting.
Yeah.
Like get...
So you're saying
not
that
us.
we're not good actors.
No, we're not.
Okay.
Have you seen our previous videos where we try to act?
I feel like we haven't made one recently enough for me to attest to our quality improvement.
Right.
I feel like we might be better now that we have had so much performance.
Okay. I still disagree.
Okay.
But anyways, Replacing the Reaper, death
believe in
set in a
myself, then.
modern corporate world.
Right.
That's the general premise. We really want to do it, and so that's our potential path to get there. But again, we
Okay.
don't want to spare expenses. We want it to be as well made as it possibly can be.
Yes.
So that's our goal to get there.
All right. We'll definitely try to get you guys Replacing the Reaper at some point.
Yes. But that being said, we're way over on time,
Way over on time.
and we should probably wrap up.
We absolutely should wrap up.
So, for those of you who endured over an hour of us talking about very technical things and very businessy things, thank you.
Thank you.
We're glad to know that you're so invested. And for the one viewer that has been watching our live stream for the past half hour, thank
wow.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
Don't know who you are, but thank you for watching. It doesn't say your name, unfortunately.
It does not.
You're just called viewer.
Yes.
That's all we know of your identity at this moment.
So you have eyes, presumably ears, and access to the internet.
Yes.
These are the facts we know about you.
And you stuck it through for the most boring part of the podcast, which was our crowdfunding section. So
I
thank
would
you.
argue that was one of the most entertaining parts. Your anger at the issue is pretty astounding to me.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But thank you, one viewer. We definitely appreciate it.
Yes.
And if you want to be part of the conversation, let us know maybe what you think about crowdsourcing or our projects. Give us feedback on the projects, ideas that we may not have thought of on our own for the projects.
Yes.
Anything, you should send us some feedback.
Yes, we have an email, feedback@proactiveslackermedia.com. We also have a Google Voice line where you can actually talk to us. If it's relevant, we'll play it on the podcast. So if you're just talking about our shows or whatever, we might not. But presumably, you want to be heard by everybody.
Yes.
So call this number, 720-295-0885, and leave a message. We can play it for everybody.
Yep. Another way you can leave some feedback is in the YouTube comments.
Yes, we'll definitely read those. And if you're watching live, like this one wonderful person, you can even tweet at us.
Yes, a live tweet.
Live tweet.
The YouTube channel that you could leave comments on is youtube.com/proactiveslackers.
Yes.
And the Twitter that you could tweet at is...
Twitter.com/PSM_company.
Yes, you can also find us on Facebook.
Facebook.com/proactiveslackermedia.
Because as a media company, it's kind of good to get social media down.
Right.
Social media.
Social media, good for media.
Yes, it turns out.
Okay.
It's very good at promoting yourself and getting the word out there.
Okay.
So...
So we employ it.
Yes, we have one.
Check it out.
You can definitely go visit it. We also have a website.
Proactiveslackermedia.com. If that doesn't work, please try proactiveslackermedia.squarespace.com.
Yes, we're still having a few issues with Squarespace and their hosting. I'm very fed up with Squarespace at this point, but there's nothing we can really do about it. Also, at this point, we have our own personal Twitters.
I'm at ProSlackerNick.
And I'm at Devin_H. That's DEVYNN_H. Also want to remind you about our Patreon program, patreon.com/PSM. That's patreon.com/PSM. If you want a free audiobook, head over to audibletrial.com/proactiveslacker. And if you want some amazingly, beautifully sexy logos of our own making, my own Photoshop skill on a mug.
Interesting place for it, Devin.
Then,
I feel like you should save that to your hard drive.
Well, it's on a mug, Nick.
Okay.
They could drink beverages out of a mug while being able to savor our amazingly designed logo at the same time.
I like it.
And where can they get that?
They can get that at our Cafe Press store,
Yes.
which is cafepress.com/proactiveslackermedia.
Yes, and get yourself one of those. Again, we're working on getting more designs up for you guys. They should be up here shortly. And that being said, I believe that's it.
I think so.
All right, join us next Friday for another Proactive Slacker podcast, and next Monday for another Shorts and Series podcast.
Yes, Proactive Slacker live Thursday nights, Shorts and Series live Sunday nights.
Yes, we'll always tweet out and post a link on Facebook to the live stream when we're getting ready to do it.
Yes, but just be watching on those nights about 10 o'clock-ish. Is
Mountain Standard Time.
Mountain Standard Time, whatever that means. It's up to you. Figure out time zones, get back to us.
Yes. And that being said, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.